test of depression, um, among many other things. So I dealt with severe depression for, gosh, since I was a young teenager. Like, just thinking of it, lasted so long. I didn't tell anybody about it. People who truly have depression, you're probably not going to know unless they tell you or you have spiritual discernment. So I just kind of lived with it. I saw it in my family, and I knew that um, I just thought it was maybe hereditary. And when I started as a teenager, I really struggled with it. But once again, I just kind of hid it and acted out, trying to figure out how to, just stay afloat in life. Um, when I became a Christian, when I turned 21, I surrendered my life to God. And so that started my journey with Christ. And I ended up studying counseling and psychology. And so through doing that and going to college for that, I was able to see you have to go in depth with your own life, and you have to get counseling and healing before you can counsel others. So going through that process, I counseling, it's amazing and it's beautiful, and it helped me discover that the depression I had, there was some chemical imbalances also, and it was hereditary. And so in my head, I was like, okay, well, I know what it is. That helped me identify what was going on, and it helped me kind of just understand what it was, among other things, like I said, but depression was the main one. And so I could identify it as it started, as I started beginning that, well, you could feel it coming on. You can feel when you're about to start spiraling down. You can feel when you are about to just lose it. And you kind of go into a dark hole almost. And it's like, you can't get out. And I was a Christian, and I prayed, and I did all the things I knew to do. I finally started talking about it a few years later, because I knew in order to get out of the hole of depression, you needed to at least talk about it and just kind of force yourself to get out. So it's literally a fight. When you're at the bottom, you have to just fight yourself out. And so I did that. But I had in my head that this is just something that I have to live with. It's something that was just hereditary. It's in my genes. I'm just prone to it. And no matter how much counseling I get, no matter how much I pray, it's just always going to be there. And I have to learn to deal with it and just basically cope with living with it. Well, so that's where I was up until last year. So that was like, 21, my 20s, until I'm in my mid 30s now. So that long, I did medication. I did do a lot of counseling. I did some trauma therapy, stuff like that. They gave me Prozac. I tried Zoloft, all these medications. And then I tried to do some natural stuff like St. John's wort, like all the different types of things. And then I was like, well, maybe it's just, I went to one doctor and they told me my vitamins are low, you're B vitamin deficient, you're D deficient, all those deficiencies. And I was like, okay, well, let's try that. So and it still came back no matter what I did. And like I said, I was a Christian. I prayed hard, and I believed in God. I love Jesus. I still do. But I was like, okay, God, well, I guess I'm just made to learn to manage this. And that's what I think a lot of people do. They think it's something they have to live with, and they have to learn to manage it. And a year ago, I just went for healing. I went for prayer, and we did a deliverance service, and I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything about it. I mean, I was raised in a fairly Pentecostal charismatic churches, and we didn't talk about that stuff. It was not something anyone talked about. And they really didn't talk about mental illness at all anyways. But so I went to the deliverance service, and I just wanted healing. I was tired of everything. Because I have kids, and when you have kids, you don't just get to give up. You have to keep going. In my eyes, there's not a choice. You have kids, you got to be there for them. But you have this looming depression and anxiety and all these other things looming over you, and you're just trying to manage it and manage being mom, being wife, being all these things. It's like impossible. You can't do it. You just can't do it all. And so anyways, I went to the deliverance service. That's a long whole story of how I even got to that place. For me to even say that I was struggling with depression still was a big deal. And I think if you struggle with that and you relate to that, you understand what a big deal that is. For me to even say that to somebody was a big deal. I'd only really recently talked to my husband about it and told him how bad it was, and he didn't understand at first either. And he was like, I didn't even know. And you won't know. A lot of people, you're not going to know unless you have that discernment, like I said, or they tell you and confide in you. And so anyways, I went to the deliverance and long story short, it was at the Springs Church, which we moved back to Toccoa, Georgia in 2019. And my brother and sister went to this church, and I was like, I'm not going there. I was like, I'm not going to this church. And God said, yes, you are. And so here we are. And I'm so glad he brought me there, because I was able to go through this prayer, through this deliverance at a healing service, and God completely healed my mind. It was like, there was a bunch of other things that I got set free of also, but depression was huge. And it was like when he prayed, it was gone afterwards. After the prayer, it was an intense prayer. But after the prayer, I didn't have that anymore. And I was worn out. I didn't know. I was like, man, I feel exhausted, but I don't know how to feel. You don't know how to feel after that. You're like, because you lived with it so long, but it's like you're just lighter, I guess is a good word. And so after that, the whole next week, I was just like, I didn't know what to feel. It's like there wasn't a darkness inside of me anymore. And I was like, what is going on? And so I was like, God, is it like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. And so I now know that my depression is completely gone. It's been over a year now. I think that was when was that? Late July or early August last year. And my life hasn't gotten easier. I still have 3 kids to take care of. I still work a job. I still have a husband who makes me mad sometimes. Like, all the things still happen in life. We're human, and we're still going through it. And things attack me. And even sometimes now, the depression will still try to come and be like, okay, look, you're worthless, or, just go start spiraling. You can feel it. Start spiraling. And it's like, but it's more from an outside now, and it's not inside of me anymore. It's hard to even describe it. It's not on the inside. It's not in my brain anymore. It's not in my heart anymore. That sinking hopelessness, that it's like when you're spiraling down in depression, it's like the enemy's coming after you, and he's coming after your thoughts, and he's trying to make you spiral yourself, and you keep going until his ultimate goal is for you to end your life. That's the ultimate goal for him. He wants to kill and destroy you. And so if he can get you there, he will, and he's going to try. And it's like, when you're in that depression, it's inside of you still. You haven't been set free of those chains. They're heavy, and it feels hopeless. You get to the bottom, and he's going to push you as far as you will let him go. And as far as you have to fight your way out of that. Well, whenever you get set free of depression, whenever you're healed from that, there's still a fight, but it's not, you're fighting from a place of victory. There's a hope. There's not like, it's like there's a light now. There's like you have Jesus with you, and you have him like holding your hand and saying, no, we're fighting this together. As where before, it's like, it's just you, and you're just shackled. And there's nothing you can do except for, attempt to, it's like pulling through tar. You could be down for a week or so. Now, there's still a fight, and there's still, things will happen. Grief happens, life happens. You lose friends, you lose family members, you lose things, and there's still that sadness and grief, but it doesn't spiral out of control into depression. So I just want to tell anybody who is thinking about coming to the healing services Sunday, there is hope. I was completely healed. Like I said, I was healed of a lot more than just depression. There was depression, anxiety. I have no anxiety. That's a whole nother video. But um, anxiety, lots of fear, just gone. I'm a different person than I was last year. There's a hope in my eyes. There's light in my eyes. I'm not overwhelmed like I was. I still get overwhelmed sometimes, but it's not, like I said, it's not inside of me anymore. It's on the outside trying to get you. And you have to, after you get deliverance and you're set free, once you've done that, it is still a daily fight. You have to read your word. You have to talk with God. You have to pray. You have to still do all these things, which I was doing this before. So I thought I was praying enough and doing all the things, but it was still inside of me. So it wasn't, so you have to keep praying. You have to stay in your word. But also after you go through this and you get healing, it's like you have a new hunger for God. All you want to do is be in his presence. All you want to do is read his word and, have worship music on. It's almost like you're born again, if that makes sense. You're double reborn. And it's just a new life, a completely new life. And there is hope. There's hope for you. So if you're struggling, if you're, I know stay-at-home moms, that's a struggle. You feel really alone a lot. And I know depression can creep in bad. I have been there to the bottom bad. And just having that lifted off is amazing, but you have to take that first step and you have to want it. You have to be desperate enough to want it and go after your freedom, go after your healing yourself and say, God, this is it. And be willing to give it to him. Because also depression, it's also comforting. Like it's so normal for you that you don't know what to do without it. It's like, okay, something bad happened, let me spiral. And so it's just like, it's kind of like a comfort almost without being comforting, if that makes sense. So you have to be willing to give that up and truly be like, okay, God, here's me. I'm completely open. Here it is. So that's my mini testimony of depression all in one. And I'd love to talk to anybody. I could talk for hours on this, but I'll talk to anybody. You message me, call me, text me, whatever, and I'll tell you the whole story. I'll tell you everything God set me free of. And I'm praying that he'll set you guys free too. That's it.